Good day, guys. Good day, good day, good day. I pray that you're doing well. I'm your host for tonight's show, Samuel I Can Win, Kim Win, and I'm looking forward to tonight's show. Looking forward to helping you guys move forward in your property journey. Now, just to get started with, let me know in the chat if you can hear me. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me. If the audio is good, if the audio is fine, let me know in the chat so we can get straight into tonight's show. We've got a lot of value to share and a lot of things to cover. So let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me. Okay, so you guys can hear me now, so let's jump straight in. First and foremost, I just want to say good day to you all. My name is Samuel I Can Win, Kim Win. I'm the host of the Impact Show, and I'm looking forward to having a fantastic show with you guys tonight. We are going to open the phone lines in a little while. We are going to allow you guys to call in with any particular questions you have as it pertains to property, so we can help you strategize in your property journey and move forward as it pertains to property. So for some reason, I'm being told my voice is slightly distorted. I'm not sure why that is. I'll get the team to hopefully have a look into that. Again, I'm not sure why that is on today's show. Hopefully someone in the team will be able to look into that and work out what is going on with that. Now, I do hope that you've had a fantastic week as it pertains to property. Okay, because there's so many things that are taking place, so many things that have been going on. So in light of that, I'm looking forward to share some of those things with you guys today in today's show, because today's show is one of those shows where we are going to be opening up a specific topic, and this topic is going to be very, very, very interesting. Hi KTR, who's jumped into the chat. Hi everybody else who's going to be with us tonight. I'm looking forward to tonight's show. It's going to be a very interesting show, speaking about quite a few interesting things. And I think from a moral standpoint, one of the things I'm going to be talking about on tonight's show is something that I don't think enough people in property really do think about, and I think it's something that people need to start taking more care of and start thinking about a little bit more. So that is something we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about, is it right to do the right thing after you've already done the wrong thing? Okay, I want you to think about that. Yes, it might take you a moment or two to think about that, but I want you to think about that. Is it right to do the right thing after you've already done the wrong thing? It's a bit of a moral dilemma, but it's something I wanted us to discuss on tonight's show for a number of reasons. So guys, you have a think about it, okay? You think about it before we jump into the show deeper tonight, but that's one of the topics I definitely want us to be touching on. It's one of the things I definitely want us to be talking about. Now, every single person who's watching this, I assume, has some kind of property interest. So as a direct result, one of the things I'm going to share with you is we are going to be running on Monday our next masterclass, okay? And our masterclasses are amazing because not only do we talk about property and talk about strategy and give you guys strategies, but we also go to the next level in our masterclasses by also saying to you guys, this is how you can move forward. And then last but not least, we also open up our masterclasses to take Q&As. So if you're interested in being a part of one of our masterclasses, you can be a part by going to the link www.impactproperties.co.uk/masterclass, and you can be a part of our masterclass. Again, that's www.impactproperties.co.uk/masterclass, www.impactproperties.co.uk/masterclass. Now, I think everybody's saying to me in the chat they can hear me properly now. So hopefully, if they can hear me properly, we should be good to push straight forward into tonight's show. Hopefully, I'm hoping, okay? And if we are able to do that, that's going to be amazing, because then we can just move straight into the value that we got for tonight's show in order to help everyone who's going to be a part of what we are doing, okay? And I really do hope everybody's had a fantastic week. It's been an amazing week since our last show, to be honest with you. There's a lot that's been taking place. Even today, I was on viewing again, okay, moving forward in terms of our property movement. Now, for some reason, I'm still getting the robotic comments. So what we're going to do is we might put the Be Right Back screen on so we can get that sorted before we push forward. I'm not sure if the team's going to want to do that, but let's see if we can do that. Okay, they do. So guys, give me one moment. We will be back with you in a moment. Holy Spirit. Hey guys, hopefully it's a lot better now. Let me know in the chat if the audio is better. Please, please, please let me know in the chat if the audio is better. I was told that it was a bit robotic by people in the chat. So guys, let me know in the chat if the audio is better. Now, first and foremost, like I said, I'm Samuel I Can Win. I am your host on The Impact Show. We're going to have a great show tonight because we've got a lot of things to discuss, a lot of things we're going to be going through. If you haven't already hit the like button. Let the YouTube world know that this is great content. It's best that you probably do that at the beginning of the show because that will give so many other people an opportunity to be a part of the show and be a part of what we're doing. Side by side with that, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, why not hit the subscribe button, be a part of our community so you can see every single time we drop a video. You'll be notified every single time we are going live, etc, etc. And I would love to welcome you into our community. We've just gone past the 250 subscribers mark some time ago, and we're looking forward to continue to grow. I have the final initial goal, let me say initial, not final, but I have the initial goal as it pertains to subscribers to hit 1,000 subscribers. I think that will be a great goal for the channel. So as a result, be a part of what we're doing. I read a comment the other day on our actual YouTube channel, which was quite funny. So I'm going to share it with you guys. I didn't tell the team that I was going to be doing this, so they haven't filed it up to go on the screen, but I will read this. This was a comment that someone wrote on one of our oldest videos. This video was so old, and what the person basically wrote was, based on how deeply we are breaking down information, they are shocked that we had so few subscribers. I'm gonna read this to you. So shout out to Rigsworth Blows. That was the name of the person who actually wrote the comment. So a great big shout out to him or her, whoever that is. And basically their comment read this: they're shocked that there has been no views and no comments on this specific video that they found. They said they've been listening to our interviews on the Let's Do Humans podcast you did back in October 2018 and enjoyed how you broke down property investment. Stay encouraged. And guys, look, I just want to say first and foremost, yes, we are encouraged. I'm going to give that comment a like, give that comment a heart, and at some point myself or a member of the team will actually respond to that comment as well and share some more love. But guys, look, that is the reality. At the end of the day, it's not about how good the information you have is, it's really about whether people are aware of it. So this is why I usually encourage you guys to hit the like button, hit subscribe, become a part of what we're doing so other people can find out about the value being shared inside of the Impact Show. So again, Rigsworth Blows, thank you ever so much for your comment. We appreciate you and we look forward to helping you move forward on your property journey as well as everyone else. Excuse me. Now, without further ado, let's start tonight's show. I'm going to jump straight into our disclaimer, and straight after that, we'll be ready to go. All information provided and results given are exemplary. Each person's results may vary or differ. Results are based on consistent strategies being employed, and we advise that you always seek legal and financial advice from a qualified professional. So, now that we've shared our disclaimer, what we want to do is we want to dig right into tonight's show. Now,
I can learn to understand you much better if I can get familiar.
Apologies, okay? Apologies about that. We had Cortana trying to talk to us, and we don't need her to do that. So it's all good. So yes, as I was mentioning, basically, Internet Show, what we want to do is we want to talk about this specific, I can't even say the word right now. We want to talk about this specific idea of, is it right to do the right thing after you've already done the wrong thing, okay? And where did this come from? You know, that's the question. Where did this come from? And I'm going to share this with you so you guys are right on the same page, okay? So recently, I was dealing with a person who was trying to tenant someone into their property. And what this person did is they put a tenant in the property without doing any checks whatsoever. Okay, so they've just told the tenant, go inside, they've taken some cash from the tenant, and they've not done the appropriate legal checks on that person. And then that person ended up having a conversation with me. The person was basically told, have a chat with Samuel, and they had a conversation with me. And in our conversation, I said to them, even though you haven't done the reference checks prior, I would advise you to do the reference checks now. Okay, and I'll say it again. I said to the person, even though you hadn't done the reference checks prior, it was only about a week ago, maybe 4 or 5 days ago, I said to them, I would advise you to do the reference checks now. And I want to know, what are your views as the viewers, as the subscribers, as part of the Impact community? Let me know in the chat, guys. I know the chat's already on fire today. Let me know in the chat, if you had a tenant who had already moved into your property, would you do retrospective reference checks? Would you do the reference check after they've moved in if you hadn't done it originally at the beginning? Okay, now it's a bit of an interesting question because the people who would do it are probably the people that would have done it in the first place. Okay, and obviously the person I was talking to isn't obviously the kind of person who would have done it in the first place, which is why they didn't do it. Okay, but I advocated that it didn't matter that it was late. What mattered more is that it was done. So this is how we got to this concept of, is it worth doing the right thing after you've already done the wrong thing? And for most people, for some people, they're going to say no. If you've done the wrong thing, it's done. It's spilt milk. There's no point crying over spilt milk. But there are a group of people who would say, no. Things don't work like that. If something's been done wrong, you need to remedy the situation, you need to correct the situation, and then do things the right way. So guys, again, I just want to know your views. I want to know if I'm being too pedantic in life. I want to know if I'm too hard. I want to know how I'm thinking. If it's not the right way to think, let me know. I'm interested in your views. Now, side by side with that, I also want to let you guys know that we have the Sourcing Blueprint. It's a free ebook. If you're watching us for the first time, you've never been a part of the Impact Show, or if you've been a part of the Impact Show but you just didn't know, we have the Sourcing Blueprint ebook, absolutely free ebook for you to go and get, so you can start to learn about property sourcing, how to start finding your own great property deals and utilizing them in order to move forward, either keeping them yourself or selling them to other investors. So go to that link, www.sourcingblueprint.com, so you can grab that ebook absolutely free for you and your community. Now, without further ado, let's open up the phone lines. Let's see what people are doing and let's help people strategize through the storm. Excellent. Phone line is open. Like I said, like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, be a part of our community. So phone lines are open right now. Okay, I'm being told that there's a call already. That's very quick, ever so much. Thank you guys. I assume it might be someone who called a bit earlier. So guys, yeah, let me know again, whilst we're going to take the first caller, let me know in the chat. Let me know if you think, having had a tenant in your property that you hadn't referenced before, would it make sense to go back and reference them? And whilst you do that, I'll grab our first call and see how we can help our first caller. So let's do that. Okay, caller 6050. Hello, good evening. Caller 6050, you are on. I should be able to hear you. Hopefully we'll get the text sorted very quickly so we can hear the caller and so you guys can hear the caller additionally. Okay. Let's do this. I think I know what I've done wrong. Good evening.
Oh, can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly. How you doing? Is that Yogesh?
Yeah, Yogesh. Hi.
Hi. Hi, Yogesh. I'm good. Great to have you on the show. How can we help you tonight? Are you ready for the subscribers and viewers to hear what you're going to be asking? And side by side of that, are you happy for them to equally hear what I'm going to be sharing with you?
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Excellent. Absolutely brilliant. All right. So without further ado, Yogesh, take us away. How can we help you?
Okay, so I've got this, I think it's an opportunity. A lot of people send me deals, and I think they're actually really good deals. Some of them, they all tend to be outside London, but when I look at the numbers, they seem really good. I'm up to capacity in terms of time. I can't really handle any other projects. Fully compliant deal sorter. that wouldn't take up too much of my time.
Excellent, excellent. You know what? It's powerful you're asking this question, Yogesh, because the question you're asking marries with the theme of the show today. So I've said, I'm sure you've heard, I was sharing that the theme of the show tonight is, do you do the right thing when you've already done the wrong thing? So for example, if you want to start sourcing deals, but you haven't set up a compliant sourcing business, what do? Do you retrospectively go back and create the sourcing business, or do you find things to be done in another way? So first and foremost, what I'd say to you, just to strategize with you, we've got KTR in the chat who says, yes, I would. Okay. And I'm sure KTR is saying, yes, I would, in regards to what you're talking about, i.e. collaborating with you. So let me get into the strategy, and then straight after the strategy, I advise you potentially maybe to connect with KTR or with anyone else in order for you to move forward in what you're talking about. So let's jump into this. Hopefully it will be able to help you. So the first thing is, when you're asking the question, can you work with other sources in a predicament where you can basically move forward on deals that are being sent to you, which A, you don't want to invest the time in terms of the scrutiny, the due diligence, but then B, you don't want to have to go and get all of the compliant checks in place. And the answer to that is totally yes, you can work with other people. Now there's a terminology for this, and it's called co-sourcing, okay? Co-sourcing. And what you could do effectively is you could find someone who's already set up, someone who's already compliant, and you would co-source with them, i.e. you will bring in those deals. You might do a level of scrutiny, you might do a level of due diligence, or in some cases you might not, because again, you might not have the time, but you will leverage your co-sourcers' assets, resources, and time for them to look into things, and for them to then say to you, oh, Yogesh, this is a great deal, we're going to offer it to our community, or this isn't a great deal, etc., etc., etc. And in the regards to KTR, I saw in this week alone, KTR was putting out a rent-to-rent deal that was available with them. So again, you know, you want to work with people that are doing this stuff. You don't want to work with someone who just says, yes, Yogesh, I can work with you. You want to work with someone who's basically doing it, who's already got traction, who can basically add something to what you're bringing to the table. So do you feel that helps, Yogesh?
Yes, that absolutely helps. So I need to find, like KTR, good professional deal sources, and I can do something joint with them. But the problem is I don't know how to find these, I guess, professional deal sources.
Well, that's a great epiphany to have as well. It's a great light bulb moment to have as well, because most people, you know, I say this all the time, so many people search for answers when really they need to search for questions. So many people say, should I co-source, when really what they need to ask is, where are the great sources? Where are the good sources? Where are the people that are reliable, trustworthy, that I can actually work with? So I'll give you two recommendations. The first recommendation is through means of sourcing training. So if you go along to training, which people are doing to learn how to source, if you get yourself into groups, exclusive groups where people are sourcing as a consortium or sourcing together, that will put you in a key place to start identifying who are the actual real sources and who aren't. And one of the ways I know this is because obviously we do coaching, and in one of our online programs, we've got a group of people in the online program. You can see who's active, you can see who's not active, you can see who's asking questions, you can see who's doing deals, you can see what kind of deals they're doing. The second thing is, if you didn't want to commit any money, okay, they're asking, can Yogesh's volume be turned up? Yes. They're asking, apologies, lost my train of thought there. Yeah, so if you didn't want to commit any exorbitant amounts of money to be a part of a sourcing program, then the next step is maybe just groups, going into Facebook groups where they focus on property sourcing, specifically property sourcing, the specific kind of assets that you are getting coming your way. The place where you might have a challenge, and again, this is not just about giving you the positives, it's also about sharing the negatives with you as well. The place where you might have the challenge is in the sense that people who are sourcing deals are sending them to you. So if people who are sourcing deals are sending them to you, and you're now trying to collaborate and co-source, the problem with that is, I don't know if you've heard the saying before, but they say too many chefs spoil the broth. And the issue you have to bear in mind with that is, if you've got a sourcer sending you a deal, then you're sitting in the middle passing it to another sourcer who's going to potentially find a buyer.
there's too many people in that chain. So that's something you do need to consider as well, whether that's going to be the situation for you, or if it's just estate agents maybe sending the deals to you, or if these deals are coming to you directly from vendors, that's when we're talking about a whole different ball game. But again, if it's sources sending you the deals, you're really going to have to scrutinize the semantics to see whether that makes sense, because you wouldn't want to be in a position or predicament where you've got deals coming in and then you're sending those deals to other sources and there's just too many sources inside of the equation. So I hope that makes sense as well, Yogesh.
Yeah, that makes sense. Most of my deals are direct, however.
Excellent. Excellent. So if they're direct, that's perfect. So the first place, as I mentioned, was sourcing training. Go to places where people are already sourcing, etc., etc. The second place that I would advise you to think about as well is just adding another string to your bow. If you want to connect with actual property sources, is go and get referrals from people that have bought deals from sources, not just finding sources who are throwing out what do they call it? Deal brochures. You want real people who have sourced deals. And the funniest thing is, sources come in so many different shapes and forms. There are sources who will send out a brochure. There's sources who do not send out a brochure. There's sources who pick up the phone and at the end of the phone call, the deal is sold. There's sources who send out email shots to hundreds of thousands of people before they sell a deal. So I would encourage you to also collaborate with maybe property buyers and find those investors who have worked with sources and said, who do you recommend? Okay, who would you say I should connect with? And then connect with people in that way as well. So there's two ways of you finding people or groups of people who potentially are effectively sourcing deals. And also the first part of your question is, yes, you can co-source. It's just a matter of finding the right people to collaborate with.
Okay, no, that's really good. So in order to find the training people, I would need to probably pay for the training and join in.
Yeah.
There's no other way other than that, is there?
Yeah, so again, that's why I spoke about the Facebook group. So there's different levels, there's different tiers. So depending on who we're talking about, but for example, you know, most people know I spent a lot of time in the PIN community as a host, etc. in that environment. In the PIN environment, you've obviously got the free PIN networking events, and obviously they're now currently online. Then straight after that, you've got training courses. You've got the 1-day training, the 3-day training, the 12-month training. So again, if you're on the 1-day program, you would have committed money. You would have paid something to be on that training. If you're on the 3-day training, you would have paid whatever it is, whatever the price tag is at that point for the 3-day training, and so on and so forth for the 12-month training. But most of these environments, most training courses, most training providers also have maybe a free element to what they're doing. So I know in the PIN community, there's a free Facebook group, which a lot of the people from the PIN Academy are in, or other people who aren't in PIN Academy are in. So again, you might have a Facebook group where you've got people talking about property sourcing, talking about how to be effective in the property sourcing space. And that might be a great place for you to jump in and start to engage with people. So again, if you're not willing to pay, as I mentioned earlier, for the property training, what you can do is look at going into the Facebook groups or other groups, whether it's a LinkedIn group, Instagram group, etc. if Instagram have groups, in order to connect with those people. So KTR, just confirm for me in the chat that you were saying you could potentially collaborate with Yogesh. Just confirm for me that that's why you said, yes, I would. We've got a whole bunch of comments in the chat, as you guys can see. We've got Lady L. She's also said she has money to put down on a property. Is it better to purchase a buy-to-let property and live in it? Okay, so I'm going to come on to that question in a moment also. So Yogesh, hopefully that's been helpful for you.
Yeah, that's been helpful. Was KTR in the YouTube or in the Facebook?
So KTR wrote that comment on the YouTube channel, but KTR is also in the Facebook group. Okay, so what I would advise you to do is straight after this, or even whilst you're on the show, just write a post in the Facebook group and just say something like, who is KTR? And as you write that post, who is KTR, in the Facebook group, I'm sure the admin will approve your post. Straight after the admin approve your post, I'm sure KTR will comment on the bottom of your post saying, Yogesh, it's me, happy to work with you, happy to help you, happy to have a call, or something like that. So hopefully KTR will confirm in the chat that she was basically saying that she's happy to collaborate with you on potential deals. But yes, like I said, in the Facebook group, you're both in the Facebook group, she will hopefully just respond to your post. You just write a post saying, who is KTR, and she will basically respond. I hope that helps.
Yeah, last question. Your Facebook group is called Impact Properties London, isn't it?
No, that's one of our Facebook pages. The Facebook group is Impact Investing. The Facebook group you're in is Impact Investing. Yeah?
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
Brilliant.
All good.
Thank you so much.
Most welcome. You're welcome, Yogesh. Great to have you on the show. Always a pleasure. All right, now, moving forward a little bit, Yogesh asked what I think was a great question to get us started on tonight's show. I'm really appreciative, again, to think about, you know, how you can collaborate with other people, because collaboration is powerful. And just as we mentioned earlier, you know, one of the main things we wanted to cover on tonight's show is the whole conundrum of, do you do the right thing after you've already done the wrong thing? And obviously in Yogesh's predicament, Yogesh was sharing, look, he's in a predicament where he's got deals potentially coming his way, but he doesn't actually necessarily want to go out of his way and create a scenario where he's having to go and get compliant to start sourcing deals. So what can he do? And as we mentioned, he can broker a relationship with a property sourcer who is fully compliant and therefore work with them in a co-sourcing basis. And that is a great way to move forward. So Lady L, you've asked the question. You have money to put down on a property. Is it better to purchase a buy-to-let property and live in it? And my answer, excellent. We've got more questions coming through. Thank you ever so much. My answer to you, Lady L, is, you know, it really depends. Okay. And that's the broad answer. And then I'll get into kind of like a more unique or specific answer in a moment. But the answer is, it really depends. It really depends on what your objective is. So when I work with people on a coaching basis, in a coaching perspective, I usually say to people, you know what, it's all about your goal. It's not about what people think. It's not about what people say. It's about your goal. Like, what is your goal as it pertains to property investing? Like, is your goal to be able to have a property where you are not paying for the mortgage and it's basically paying for itself? If the answer is yes, then I would then say, why not buy a residential property and have a number of lodgers within the legal confines? Because if you do it that way, your deposit will be cheaper, okay, as you invest, and at the same time, your interest rate on your mortgage will probably be cheaper as well. So what do I mean by that? Well, very simply, a residential home buyer technically usually pays 10%, 5%, in the current climate, maybe as much as 15% as a deposit to buy a home. So what does that mean? That means if you're buying, Lady L, a property for £100,000, let's just assume, okay? Now, obviously, the reason I'm using 100,000 is because I know some people do not like maths, so this makes the maths really easy for you guys. Now, if you're buying a property which is valued at £100,000 and you're paying a 15% deposit, your deposit is £15,000. Now, yes, you will still have to pay your legal fees. You'll still have to pay an additional set of fees, okay? But the key to this, Lady L, is the fact that you're only putting down a £15,000 deposit, and you'll be able to leverage and mortgage the rest of the actual value of the property, the rest of the £100,000. Now, if you're buying this property as a buy-to-let property, and bear in mind it's your first buy-to-let property, technically you'll probably be paying 25% as a deposit. So the difference in that is a 25% deposit of £100,000 is £25,000. That's an additional, in the example we've just given, an additional £10,000. So the question is, do you want to go and buy a buy-to-let property and live in the property, which is actually technically mortgage fraud, okay? So you don't want to do that. You don't want to commit mortgage fraud, because mortgage fraud is when you say you're doing something, but you actually do something else to a lender or with a lender for the purposes of a mortgage. So first and foremost, under that, guys, you don't want to buy a buy-to-let property and live inside of it, okay? And probably what you're really wanting to do is buy a residential home, not a buy-to-let home, on a residential mortgage, okay, where your deposit will be less. And then after buying that, consider maybe having some kind of tenants or some kind of lodgers who live in the property with you. And by doing that the right way, going through the right checks and balances, like we shared in the disclaimer, make sure you get the financial advice, or you seek, the legal advice appropriate to make sure you do it correctly. If you want, you can book a coaching call or strategy call with myself, and I can help you go through what the actual, the dynamics of what we're talking about are. But the reality is, you probably don't want to buy a buy-to-let property and live in it. You probably more so want to buy a residential property and look at ways that you can generate revenue in, with, or for through that property. So hopefully that answers Lady L's question. Lady L, let me know in the chat, out of 5, you know, how many stars do you give the answer to that question? Is that a 5-star answer, 4-star answer, 3-star answer, 2-star answer, 1-star answer, no star answer? Do you feel we answered your question as it was asked? So that's Lady L. The chat is just going on fire right now. I don't even know if I can keep up, but I will definitely jump back in the chat in a moment to answer a few more questions. So Lady L, let us know how many stars you rate the answer to your question. Excuse me. Okay, so let's jump back in the chat. Let's see what else others have got to ask. And guys, you know, like we said, use the telephone number. The telephone number is right there, guys. The telephone number is right at the bottom of the screen. Use the telephone number so you guys can get your questions answered. Okay, this is what we're here for. We are actually here to help you guys get answers to your questions. So use the telephone number, call in, let us know your specific questions so we can give you some answers. Let me move up a little bit. So for those of you who do want to call in number is on the screen, 0330-606-0403. You can call in, and all you need to do is utilize the access code 695922. I'll say again, 695922. That's 695922. That's the access code when you call in order for you to be able to get on the show and ask any questions that you have. I'll say the number one more time, is 0330-606-0403, 0330-606-0403. All right, so if you're calling in, let's get this show on the road. Let's have a chat. So as I mentioned, the comments are still coming through thick and fast. Let me have a quick little look and see what is being said. So Lady L says, yes, thanks. That's a 6-star answer. Thank you ever so much, Lady L. All right, so if I go back a little bit, next question. This one came in from one of the admins on the channel. What are your thoughts on shared ownership? Is it worth it as an investment? Okay, that is a powerful question. For me, I think that is an extremely powerful question. So first and foremost, what are my thoughts on shared ownership? Personally, I don't like shared ownership as a general theme, okay? And I'm just saying this as a general theme, okay? Are there circumstances and situations where people should use shared ownership? For sure, okay? Is it most of the circumstances and situations that the government promote shared ownership for? In my opinion, no, okay? So that's just my overall overarching thoughts. So my thoughts are generally, I don't tend to like shared ownership. Now, why don't I like shared ownership is probably a great question, and this is going to help you guys. Part of the reason I don't feel like I really like shared ownership is because with shared ownership, what generally tends to happen is people don't aggressively take over more of the property. People don't aggressively grab more share of the property. So let's say, for example, a person gets into a shared ownership property having 30% ownership and the government has 70%. It's very rare that I see people do what it takes to raise the extra 5, 7, 12, 13, 100, whatever it takes, whatever the additional amounts they need as lump sums to throw down and start taking more ownership. So what generally tends to happen from what I've seen, people grab shared ownership properties just to have the pride of saying, I own a property. But the reality is, if you're not going to aggressively take over more of the shares of the property, you don't really own a property. Because people who have traditional mortgages don't really own the property. The bank owns the property. The moment they get into some financial disarray, the bank will remind you that they own the property by sending you letters, by taking you to court, and by seeking to repossess. So the reason I don't really like shared ownership is because from what I've seen, in most cases, and again, this is not all cases, but in most cases, people do not do what it takes to grab more share of the property. And that's the reason why I don't generally advocate shared ownership. Now, there's more to the question, so I'm going to get into the more to the question because I think it's going to be of extreme value to us as well to talk a little bit more about what was actually asked. Now, first thing, again, and here's a little plug for all of you guys watching. I want to encourage you guys to jump onto the masterclass that's coming on Monday. Now, I assume we're going to probably sell out of tickets, so that's just a heads up. But if you can still get a ticket, I assume you probably can right now because this is kind of like the earliest stage of us talking to people about the masterclass on Monday. But if you get the opportunity, the masterclass on Monday is going to be live. It's at 8 p.m. You can go to impactproperties.co.uk/masterclass to be a part of that. And again, one of the things we do on our masterclasses is right at the end, we open it up for Q&A. So you can ask all of these property questions just like people can feel to do on the live show. Now, coming back to this question asked by the admin, what are my thoughts on shared ownership? I've shared that already. The second part, is it worth it as an investment? Now, here's where the thoughts are kind of conflicting. One of the most powerful things about investing is our ability to leverage, okay? And when I say this, I'm talking about outside of property investing. I'm talking about all investments. The majority of investments people make, in my opinion, the value in the investment is your ability to leverage. So what do I mean by your ability to leverage? Well, as I was answering earlier to Lady L's question, when you buy a property, you are not paying, unless you're buying cash, 100% of the price of the property or of the value of the property. If you're buying a house for 100,000 and you're a buy-to-let investor, you're putting down 25% of the value of 100,000. So what that means is you're leveraging the bank's mortgage on 75% of that property. So you get to enjoy the benefits of holding or controlling something worth 100,000, even though you've only put down 25,000. Now, why might that be interesting? Well, that might be interesting if, for example, you buy in a great area, which over 10 years increases in 50% of its value, and it goes from 100,000 to 150,000, and then you sell, for example, that property, and you walk away with pre-tax £75,000. The 25 you put in originally plus an additional 50 which it's grown in. And the thing that's interesting is, unless you're repossessed, the bank doesn't get any of that additional 50k. The bank doesn't get any of the uplift at all. The bank are not JVing with you, they're not joint venturing with you. So as a result, yes, they're lending you the money, yes, they get paid through means of their interest, which they're happy with, yes, they are gonna make a killing, but you get to generate revenue off an asset that is way beyond what you put down originally. Okay, so I want people to understand the benefit of an investment and why investments are valuable. Okay, investments are not valuable because I put 25 in and I got 25 out. Okay, because that's not an investment. That doesn't make any sense. You are breaking even in that world. But when you put 25 in and you're given the ability to control 100,000, and because you're controlling 100,000, that 100,000 is able to accrue an additional 50% and thus become 150,000, you're putting yourself in a great place to be able to move forward in your journey because you're generating revenue off of the original revenue. So I hope that makes sense, okay? So that's the key to an investment. That's the first thing I want you guys to understand. Now, when you understand that investment is all about leverage, stocks and shares, exactly the same. When you buy stock in a company or shares in a company, you're buying a proportion of a larger amount of an entity. And it's that entity that is supposed to have the power to generate more wealth, which makes your proportion of more value over time, or worth more money over time. Okay. So it doesn't matter what investment you're talking about. 9 times out of 10, the power in an investment is your ability to leverage. Now, if you take that concept I've just shared and you marry that concept with what I shared with you guys about why I do not like shared ownership generally, you start to see why I don't necessarily think shared ownership is a great investment. The reason I don't think it's a great investment is because most people don't increase their share of the ownership. And if you have no intention to increase your share of the ownership, if you're not going to increase your share of the ownership, or if you're one of those people who are going to say, yeah, I'm going to increase my share of the ownership, then you buy the property and don't increase your share of the ownership, then that doesn't make any sense to me as an investment. So what is my thoughts? Is it worth it as an investment? In my opinion, if you are not going to aggressively add more of the share of the ownership after you get into shared ownership, no, I don't think it is a good investment. Hopefully that has given you guys some real expansive clarity on how I feel about shared ownership as a scheme for people to own homes. Okay, and guys, please understand this: property ownership and property investment are two different things. Okay, so someone might ask the question, what are your thoughts on shared ownership as an investment? And I want you to understand that property ownership and property investment are two different things. Okay, you can own property to invest. okay? But you don't necessarily have to invest to own. And I hope that makes sense. And the reason I say that is because I don't want someone watching this thinking Samuel said I shouldn't get a shared ownership when all you're trying to do is buy a home. Like if you're just trying to buy a home, shared ownership might be the way forward for you. Okay, and it might be a great way forward for you because it might open up doors where you don't have the revenue to put down as a deposit, etc., etc. Okay, so guys, please, just for clarity purposes, don't assume I am talking about shared ownership for the purpose of just living in. Okay, when I'm talking about this, I'm answering the question. I'm talking about investment as an investment. So hopefully that helps. Can the admin let me know, Mrs. I Can Win, let me know how many stars we get for answering that question, and we're going to keep going through the chat and see what else we have here. Okay, so KTR asked a question. She has a question about JVs on a rent to rent. How do you best organize the workload between the two partners to avoid any issues? That is a very, very powerful question and a great question. Now, I've done joint ventures on rent to rents before. So again, I've got experience in this. Not only have I, done rent to rent properties, not only have I done a whole bunch of other stuff, but I've actually done joint ventures on a rent to rent basis as well. And look, I would say this, KTR, to answer your question, start with your strengths. Okay, that's the first place you want to start with. Start with your strengths. And when I say start with your strengths, I'm not talking about, oh, I'm good at tenant finding, so I'm just going to tenant find. No, I mean, maybe you want to get a piece of paper out. You want to write down all of the things that, partner A is good at, and then write down all the things partner B is good at. And then when you understand the two things that you both bring to the table, you then have an open dialogue around, well, look, your strengths are here and here, and my strengths are here and here. So if we're going to collaborate, can we make it kind of as a first point of call? Any of these issues come to you, and any of these issues come to me. And if these issues come to me, I'll then forward them to you because they're in your remit. And if those issues come to you, you forward them to me because they're in my remit. So that's the first place. I'd say you start with a tentative conversation. And, if you're investing, what I would say to you is before you even have the tentative conversation with someone else, and this is something I talk to all my coaching clients about all of the time, first have a tentative conversation with yourself. Okay, first sit down on your own, and this is what I was talking about when I said get the piece of paper and the pen. Sit down on your own and ask yourself the question, what do you seek to bring to the table in this joint venture? What value do you have that's going to help other people? First, start there. Straight after you start there, asking yourself what value do you have to bring to the table, then ask yourself, what value do these other people have? What value could this other person bring? What value do I know already without even speaking to the person, without asking the person for them to put their best foot forward? What do I know this person could do which would be of value or an asset to this joint venture? So start by having the conversation with yourself. Straight after you've had the conversation with yourself, then move into the world where you're having the tentative conversation with the joint venture partner. After having the conversation tentatively with the joint venture partner, then start looking at putting some kind of agreement in place. And again, guys, look, I'm going to be transparent with you. A lot of people in the property space will say if you're doing any kind of JV, you need a legal document, you need to sign that, you need solicitors drafting it, etc., etc. I am not of the exact same ilk. I'm just going to be transparent with you. Yes, there's joint ventures where I would say you need to have legal paperwork in place, but there's equally joint ventures where I would say you could do on a gentleman's handshake if you are comfortable. But nonetheless, even those ones that I would say you could do on a gentleman's handshake, I'm repeating this because it's important, I would still advocate having some kind of written documentation which articulates what each person is bringing to the table and or what each person is doing. Because too many times do we get into engagements and down the line find out, oh, you said this and you said that. Guys, I'll give you an example. Today, this is today. So this is why I'm giving it as an example. I received a call today. I was on a call with someone, and the person says to me on the call that I sent them a copy of someone's ID. Okay. And I said to them, look, I did not send you a copy of this person's ID, okay? Because I would have had no way to get a copy of this person's ID. And I went further to say to them, you sent me the copy of the person's ID. And I said to them, if you look in our WhatsApp chat on the 21st of September at X time. I can't remember what the time was. I just said the time to them. I said, you can see clearly that you had forwarded me the picture of that person's ID. Okay, now guys, why am I sharing this with you? I'm sharing this with you because I want you to understand. Because I had the evidence on WhatsApp, that's where I had the power to say, excuse me, person, you are making a mistake. I didn't send that to you. You sent it to me. Okay, so guys, I want you to bear this stuff in mind because this stuff comes up all the time. There's always going to be a difference of opinion. And when those differences of opinion are business related, they can then become financially connected. And unfortunately, when things become financially connected, people a lot of the times become emotional. So what you want to do is make sure that there is paperwork in place. I'll give you another example. This week, I'm very grateful, very thankful. I've had an amazing week. And one of the things that made this week amazing is 2 of our investors who invested with us last year were able to receive their funds back from an investment we did on a property project. Now, why has that got me excited? It's got me excited because 12 months ago, we signed contracts with these individuals, and it's 12 months later, and these individuals can now see the materialization of the trust that they placed in me and they placed in our organization. Why is that important? It's important because we had a document. We had a document that stipulated the bank details of where they were sending the money, the bank details of where we send the money back, and all of the other rigmarole, how long this interest was going to be charged for, how much the interest rate was, etc., etc., etc. So guys, I want you to understand this. Having documentation makes a massive difference, okay? So that is my heads up to you. Guys, KTR, anyone else thinking about doing a joint venture, even if you're going to just shake hands, have something written down, have some kind of documentation articulating what your part of the deal is and what my part of the bargain is too. So KTR, let us know in the chat, just like everybody else, just like Lady L, just like Mrs. I Can Win, let us know in the chat, KTR, what you feel the star rating was on the answer to your question. I can just see all those stars. Again, guys, you know, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, be a part of what we're doing. So you can see all of those stars that came in. So Mrs. I Can Win says that was absolutely perfect. Thank you. I think she's given us 7 stars here. We like it, we like it, we like it. And Lady L has gone and given us even more stars from earlier on. We have another 6-star rating. So guys, thank you ever so much. We appreciate you and your question. All right, I've got some fire in the chat from the admin. Property ownership and property investment are 2 different things. Thank you ever so much, Mrs. I Can Win. Love the quote. And guys, this is what we do. So if you want to move forward in your property journey, connect with us. You can do so by being a part of our masterclass, which is taking place on Monday. You can go to www.impactproperties.co.uk/masterclass to be a part of that masterclass. We're going to be sharing with you free secrets on how you can find great property deals and close to double your actual revenue on each property opportunity. We are going to be sharing with you the stuff that the other investors do not want you to know. So again, that's the masterclass, www.impactproperties.co.uk/masterclass. All right, so going back into the chat to see what else was said. We answered Lady L's question. We got Mrs. I Can Win's question. We also covered KTR's question. Okay, so excellent. KTR has confirmed that she says in the chat, yes, I would collaborate with Yogesh. So Yogesh, again, just a heads up, go into the Impact Investing group that you're part of on Facebook. Just write in there a post, who is KTR? And KTR, there's a heads up. Yogesh will be writing a post. Just respond to his post or connect with him on Facebook. Okay, so Lady L has said residential mortgage it will be. Okay, I like that. I assume that she's taking our advice. So utilize that stuff to help you move forward. We're here to help you in the community as well. All right, what else have we got on here? We've got going back on the JV question. Would the same partner pay all the bills, or would you split the bills between the two? Would only one person be in charge of tenants' paperwork or the two? All right. And look, that's a great question, KTR. Thank you for asking. I want to share this with you, KTR. Look, it depends. Okay. It depends. I'm being asked for the call-in number again. We'll get that on the screen. It depends, KTR. So how can I put it to you? Like, one thing I say to people all the time, I was on a call earlier on today and I said the same thing to one of my coaching clients. Like, everything is negotiable. Okay, people don't believe this, people don't know this, but that's the reality. Everything is negotiable. When you spend time with extremely wealthy individuals, you start to learn that very quickly. Everything's negotiable. Everything can be negotiated. Okay, there can be a yes, there can be a no. And then inside of the yes, inside of the no, there can be so many different variants of what that yes is or what that no is. So coming back to KTR's question, where she's basically said to us here, you know, is it possible for you to, you know, segment the workload a certain way? What I would say to you, KTR, is it depends. It depends on how you want to do it. Now, you can have it where both of you are paying the bills. I personally wouldn't do that. Okay, in terms of my personal belief, I wouldn't do that. I would say the property pays the bills, because obviously if the property is not paying the bills, that already shows there's no money in the deal. And then I would say all liability potentially is split 50-50, but it depends. It depends on what you're bringing to the table. So I'll give you an example. Lady L, I just used Lady L as an example because she mentioned this earlier. Lady L says she's got money for property deals. Okay, that's what she said in the chat earlier. She's got money for property deals. Now, if Lady L's got money for property deals and she was going to do a joint venture with you, KTR, on a rent to rent, the reality is Lady L is saying, I'm bringing money to the table. So by virtue of the fact that she's saying, this is what I'm bringing to the table, you have to now think, KTR, what do you bring to the table? So what you might bring to the table might be the expertise, the workload, the ability to tenant find, etc., etc., etc. So what I want you to understand, KTR, is utilize the strengths of each individual and bring them together to make a more powerful package. Okay, so when we're looking at that JV question, you know, would the same partner pay all of the bills, or would you split the bills between the two? That depends on who's bringing what to the table. If it's two rent-to-renters coming together to control a rent-to-rent, I'll give you an example. So one rent-to-rent I took on with a JV partner. This JV partner already had rent-to-rents in their portfolio, and I already had rent-to-rents in my portfolio. So when we collabed together, we were both rent-to-renters looking to expand our rent-to-rent assets. And the particular rent-to-rent we took on together, the cash flow was great. So as a result, it made sense for us to be able to split it. Now, when we decided to do that, what we did is we said we will go in 50-50 on funds. Okay, we decided to go in 50-50 on funds. That was something we negotiated and decided was great. Now, why did I agree to doing that? And most of you who are watching this, who do know me already, you know that I like to invest using none of my own money. Okay, that's who I am. That's always who I've been since 2005 when I started studying creative property investing. I've always gone out of my way to ensure that when I invest in a project, I'm 9 times out of 10, if not all of the times, trying to make sure I'm not using my own money. Now, in the specific deal where I joint ventured with another rent-to-renter, that rent-to-renter was coming forward with the strength of experience. They had more rent-to-rents than I had at the time, so they were bringing a level of experience. What I was bringing was experience of the whole property market. So not just rent-to-rent, but other aspects of property. So I could show them how we could turn these rent-to-rents into lease options. I could show them how we could take these rent-to-rents and build a more substantial property business, because the revenue we take from the rent-to-rent, we could use it for deposits on other properties up north, etc., etc. So I was bringing a different power to our connection. Now, in terms of the management and the admin, the way we worked that was based on strengths and weaknesses. So the strengths of my JV partner was that they're great at getting stuff done. They're great at connecting with people. So as a result, they started working with the tenants predominantly. For me, I'm great with systems. I'm great with strategy. So I worked on the back end with the admin, making sure that our virtual assistants were getting everything done. So the point I'm making is, when you JV, think about the strengths you have and the weaknesses. Now, because we decided to go 50-50 on the funds, and because I mentioned already, I like to work without using my own money, I then reached out to people in my community and said, guys, look, who wants to learn about rent to rent? Because if you want to learn about rent to rent and you've got some funds, something small, like £10,000, which a lot of people have. A lot of people have 5,000 sitting in their bank saying, one day I'm going to save enough to have a deposit. And look, if you're based in London, I don't know when that one day is going to come. I'm just being transparent. So what happens is, some of those people who have that 5 grand, 10 grand, 20 grand, 15 grand in their bank, and know that they can't use it for a deposit where they are, London-based, for example, they say, well, why don't I put that into a deal? Why don't I give those funds to Samuel to do his deal? And when Samuel does his deal and he's successful with his deal, he'll pay me that money back with an interest as well on top. So that's a bank beating return, because in the bank, currently they're giving 0.01% of interest, and they might do a deal with us and get 4%, 3%, 2%, who knows? But it's more than they're getting in the bank. And by virtue of them doing that, we also set up at times, we don't do this all the time because of capacity, but we also at times set up what we call an earn and learn process. So not only are they going to earn interest on the funds they've put into our project, but they're also going to learn how we use their funds on the specific project. Okay, and everybody does this stuff differently, but that's how we do it in our business. So, but the reason I bring this up is because what I did on that project where I JV'd is I brought my strengths, and part of my strength is using other people's money, and the other JV partner brought their strengths. We collabed together, and I was able to utilize investors to fund my portion of the rent to rent, and in some cases the full amount of the rent to rent. And from that fact that we've used investors, we've been able to show those investors what we were doing as well additionally. Now I know that's a mouthful, but hopefully that will help you, KTR, and anyone else who's thinking about rent to rent, thinking about partnering, thinking about JVs, etc., in terms of moving forward. A few of the other things. Okay, just the last part of KTR's question before I move forward. She's also written here, would only one person be in charge of tenants, paperwork, or the two? Again, that goes back to my answer earlier. Everything's up for negotiation. You got to decide what your strengths and weaknesses are. If you ain't good with tenants, if you don't like engaging with tenants, if you don't want to engage with tenants, don't put that on the table as part of your negotiation as to how you are going to move forward on that project. All right, so hopefully that helps you. Okay, I've got here a whole bunch of chat comments, trying to get through them. What's the call-in number again, please? Call-in number is on the screen for those of you who want to call in. I've got a whole bunch of claps coming through. Thank you ever so much. I've got Pearl Yam here. Pearl Yam, if you're new to the show, let us know in the chat that you're new. Let us welcome you. We want to welcome you into our community. KTR says 7 stars. KTR, thank you ever so much. We appreciate you on the show. All right, so Pearl Yam, I think this is a question. The question says, they are not in a position to buy, but they find this webinar visionary, positive, and encouraging. That's great. Thank you for sharing your comment. It wasn't a question, guys. Apologies. It was a comment, and it's a great comment. Thank you ever so much for sharing that. We appreciate you. Look, let me say this to you. This is for Pearl Yam. This is for KTR. This is for, Lady L. This is for anyone watching the live show right now. Hit share, okay? Hit share. Even if I'm on for 1 more minute, guys, hit share, okay? Now, the reason I'm saying hit share is not because, I've got this goal of 1,000 subscribers. Yes, I've got a goal of 1,000 subscribers, but it's not that. It's because of this. It's because people say stuff to me, just like Pearl Yam has said in this comment. Samuel, I'm not in a position to move forward, but I love getting this insight. I love getting this knowledge. You get people like Lady L, and Lady L, thank you for your comment. Pearl Yam, thank you for your comment. KTR, thank you for your comment. Mrs. I Can Win in the admin, thank you for being a great admin today. Yogesh, thank you for calling in. Everyone else who's watching this, the hundreds, thousands, millions, however many people at the time you're watching this, whether live or whether on the replay, thank you for engaging and watching this. But let me tell you this. If you are getting value from this and you don't hit share, you don't hit like, you don't subscribe, the problem with that is that you're stopping someone else from getting the same value. And that's what I want you to be aware of, okay? It's something I think about all the time. How can I add value to other people? Guys, I do this show to add value to you. And I'm grateful, okay? I'm so grateful that you guys jump on the show, you watch the show, you get the value, you get the encouragement, you get the vision, you get the positive encouragement, etc., okay? I'm so grateful it all happens. But guys, just to keep it clear with you, you can do that too, okay? You might not have the setup, you might not have the lights, you might not have the cameras, you might not have the microphones, you might not have whatever it is, the equipment that goes into this. You might not have the property portfolio that I need to have to be able to do this for you guys. You might not have the joint ventures, you might not have the connections, you might not have anything. But guys, you've got the power to press like, you've got the power to press share, you've got the power to press the bell notification, you've got the power to let other people who need this find out about this. So guys, do the right thing, okay? Be a value giver and give a little bit more value. All right, look, the chat is popping off. Like I said, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, be a part of what we're doing all that way. Be a part of what we're doing and help us move forward. Yogesh said he has shared many times. Thank you ever so much, Yogesh. Appreciate that. Okay. And look, guys, listen, if this is trash, stop watching and don't share. Okay. Just understand that this is not daytime TV, guys, okay, where you just leave it on for ambient sound, okay? This is for you. If you are getting value, then I'm sure there's someone else in the world who could equally get value. So just share the information, or at least subscribe, so in the future you can be aware when more of this information is coming out. I've got here, okay, another comment from Pearl Yam. Pearl Yam has said my male friend, I assume by her saying that, I'm assuming Pearl Yam is a female because they've written my male friend, but let me just read the comment. Their male friend did not want to join the chat. He said because he said he did not have the money to buy a property. Guys, look, this is what happens every day. This is what happens every day. I've just told you, okay, Pearl Yam and everyone else viewing, I've just told you that I got into property in 2005 with none of my own money. So if you're the person who's got no money and you don't want to jump on the live show because you've got no money, well, that's never going to change. And I just want to say that to you. And let me tell you this as well, because some people won't say this to you. I want to be that real and share this with you. What do you think most people do when they've got no money with the little money they've got? Okay? The little money most people have, the kind of people who've got no money, they go put it in the bank. And when they put it in the bank, what did they get? They get a slap on their wrist for putting their money in the bank. They start losing their money. And how do they lose their money? Because inflation, okay, inflation, the natural financial force against all of our money is usually at 3%. So what that means is if you put 100,000 in the bank today, in 12 months, it is 3% weaker than it was a year ago. Inflation on average operates at 3%. So if you put 100,000 pounds in the bank today, that specific inflation is going to work at your money in a negative way. Now, why is this important? I'm going to tell you why this is important. It's important for something so powerful. It's important because if your money's in the bank and you're getting an interest rate of 0.01, that means your money is growing at a slower rate than it is actually being eroded by inflation. So the problem with that is if you've got contacts who are going to say, I don't have money, I can't watch a property show. Guys, I just want you to be aware what that means. All that means is that that person is going to be subjected to doing what most people do, which is leaving their money in the bank, a bank which gives them less interest than inflation is actually working on it. Okay, so guys, I want you to be hopefully very, very well aware of that. Lady G, love the comment. She says, top radio presenter greetings. Excellent. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Hope you got value from the show. If you got questions, call in, let us know, or write them in the chat, and let's keep on going. Guys, here for you. That's what we do. Now, without further ado, let me talk to you about our key resource for tonight's show. We are giving you absolutely free the audio book of the 10x rule. Why are we giving you this? Because just like Pearl Yam said, there are people out there who need to 10x their scenario so they can start investing in property, so they can start learning about property. And how do you start to 10x your scenario? Well, one of the great ways is go get a book, okay? Absolutely no cost to you. Go and get the 10x rule. This is a book written by Grant Cardone. The audio book can be taken full advantage of right here on the link. impactproperties.co.uk/10x 10x. That audio book is going to help you understand how you can 10x your property journey, how you can 10x your life, which is very, very important. Now, if you go to the link, you are going to get a free trial of Audible. You get to keep the book whether you keep the trial or not, and you've got 30 days to enjoy all the features of Audible as well. And like I said, even if you decide to cancel on day 10, day 2, day 1, day 5, day 25, you keep the book even if you do not keep the Audible subscription. So go and get yourself the 10x rule so you can start looking at how you can move forward in your property journey. Now, lastly, but not least, I'm expecting you guys to participate with me and be on the upcoming masterclass right here. Okay, so you can go to the link straight under me, www.impactproperties.co.uk/masterclass. Get your seat, get yourself registered so you can be a part of our masterclass that is taking place on Monday. I'm going to guarantee you one thing right now. Tickets for that masterclass are going to sell out before the masterclass on Monday. There's a limited amount of seats, so why not come and join me on Monday as we talk about how you can find great property deals and move forward in your property investing journey. I'm Samuel Akinwin. It's been a great pleasure being with you guys tonight on the Impact Show, and I look forward to having some more sessions with you in the future. And as I usually say, happy investing.